Okay, full-time house for a day is the reflection of the full season, the crucial season for the year. So that's reflect universal truths of the holographed system. Just like a Russian doll, the big system inside have a small system, and then the small system inside another system, which is exactly the same. So that is has the Earth design as like the cycles. So that's why if we understand their they have exactly the same 4 times is crucial time to mastering our energy, like sunrise, sunset, mid of day, mid of night. And then we will be able to hold for life will as the cycles more round, more health. So that means we can last long. But what is the secret behind? And then that looks very simple, but there's a simple is reflect as the ancient wisdom and also deep knowledge. Even the Leibniz as mathematician from Europe has also come to the China, try to pick up their Tai Chi map. And then he has been decoding that as a 0-1-0-1 system, which is the I Ching, and showing to the people. As many people heard about I Ching, which called the Book of Change, but they hasn't really got to know. And the Book of Change is only reflect one of the aspects of the universe law. So the I Ching, they're talking about I, so that's why they call the I Ching. So the pronunciation called the I, actually in the real Chinese pronunciation should be I, is like a Y-I-E. So that's words. Have many other Chinese words as a similar pronunciation. The only wording reflect in that ancient wisdom book is the character is the sun, the sun on the top, the moon underneath. So that word pronunciation E as a specific reflect to the Book of Change as Western people know. But I want to edit 2 major aspects about the I Ching. And the Book of Change had lots of people has been missing, which is totally reflect that the universal routine is works for our health. For example, classical book of I, that's called the I Ching I. I want to use I because the pronunciation is not accurate. So the I is means showing the routine of the sun and the moon has a move, but also means showing the yin and yang has their move, has their relationship. So that's why all of their hexagram had a different group, different order to showing us even the direction change, like east and west, north, south, and the thunder, water, and like earth and fire. So have a different represent a different character. So put this part on the side. So I just want to focus on what's the main principles of the I. There's 3. Always change, and non-change, simplicity. So the book of change only transferred the changing part because they reflect the earth changing all the time. But there's another deep part which is showing there's non-change part, which is like sun and the moon. So the sun always rising up from the east, always set down from the west. And so the moon always have the cycles rising up, new moon, full moon in the monthly cycles. So this part, from the ancient time, as a human being has been had recorded about the life, understand life, that design, that program have never really been changed. Maybe the change is still, like proof flipped. It's like the earth have civilization and have the big cycles shift on their pole, shift. Apart from that, so from our civilization, from as human being recorded, and there's the always case. So this is the part which I Ching is talking non-change. If our human being have a changing all the time, so that's why the energy very easy to lost, because we have ego and we're talking about free will, and we can overuse our energy or our mind to be too active, and then we can deplete and we go into different geography or environment, and now our energy will be kind of affected, either too cold, too hot, so we may be out of balance. But there's something we need to understand. They're never changed, which is that the moon and the sun and cycles related with the earth, and even including the so-called five planet, 5 stars around us, like Saturn and Venus and all the all what we were called the different planets. So there are planets orbit linked with the Earth, and then to relate with the Earth cycles. In this case, so much people to use that to predict people's life according to we call it the horoscope, and then to predict people's future, and then to reading people's past, is due to they understand those planets, their energetic or the vibration affect the earth. So that's why this person, when they were born, so that's why they have we are in the particular geography and a place where, and then in a particular time, and then so with that 2 aspects, so we can locate years, months, and date and time to start to have mathematics structure to understand how those planet kind of energy to affect yourself, and then we can interpreting our life. So I mentioned that is I want to as our human to understand everything's related, but so something we can change, but something we cannot change. But for example, like in the Yellow Emperor Canon book, they mentioned on the first chapter, they said why our human being now their lifespan is such short. In the ancient time, and then they can connecting with yin and yang, a master connecting with this heaven and earth, massing above the yin and yang. Can you imagine that he used the words means mastering? But now, even we just followed the sunrise, sunset, we are still just follow the yin yang. So you can just kind of kept you are relatively health, but better than those people against the yin yang. For example, like the sunset, we need to slow down, we need to rest. But lots of people on that kind of time, they start become very busy, they're dancing, they become much more active. So that means you're against that, the big yin and yang flow. So that's why Yellow Emperor Canon book, and on that time they already mentioned that if you understand that 4 times, which is including the year 4 times cycle or the day 4 times cycle, so even within our 1 hour, and so there's also cycles. So that's why if you make them, they're getting smaller, they still have a cycle. So that's why we always said, so if you're tired, you even just have a nap or close your eyes for 5 minutes is better than nothing. So means, so even we divided in a very, very small unit, they still have cycles. So that's why to understand as a holographed system as a cycles, so we have a wisdom to know how to follow that, their non-change part. Why I want to mention non-change part so important, because people always talking book of change. They don't say the book non-change, but non-change part, it is important because the sun never just said, okay, today I'm not happy, I'm rising up from the west, I'm dropped down to the east. No, they don't do that. So that means their routine, that they keep the stability of the and the Earth's design. If you like, the company, you want the person who very reliable to do the work. You want friends very reliable and keep their words. So that kind of reliable and then bring the much long-term relationship. So for us to get to the universe, so to understand what is the program and last long, that's kind of reliable. So that's why if our life tap into that non-change part, so therefore our energy, our physical energy, our emotional energy, much more tapped into they are the big cycles, they're very powerful vibration. There's non-change routine. So therefore, we become a much more stable in our body and in our vibration levels. So that's why very wise men, they put quite quite a lot fundamental practice into 4 times for health. Of course, I Ching have another principle, because we did talking about one is change, one is non-change. There's another one is called simplicity. So the simplicity is like the universe have 10,000 things. How can we understand the major important aspect, which is also 4 times for health? For example, we can say you can practice every minute to enhance your energy level. But of course, life is very colorful. You cannot just sit there and meditate all the time, or you cannot just doing the health and energy all the time. You want to learn, you want to watch, you want to sing the song, you want to meet up to friends, which is also why we're here on the earth to learn and different experience. So in this case, how can we enhance our health and energy levels? So you need to find the simplicity, why simplicity is to find, that means you are smart enough, find a crucial point to do it. Okay, for example, we did design about full-time for house. Originally, according to Meridian system, each one of the 4 times you need to do 2 hours. So that's why I look quite lots of people say, oh my God, I haven't do 8 hours practice. It's too much. I cannot do that. I have to making work. I have to make money. I need to do something else. Okay, that's fine. And then, so that's why we can actually, according to the time, that's very important, is that you need connecting into that yin and yang changing crucial time. So for example, when the sun rises, so when the sun rises, you rise. So that's why the yang energy rise, you rise. So at that time, when you wake up, and you need to do the stretch, and then drink plenty of water, which is, the whole night you have been sleep, and then, but your body is still working on you to clean your body, and then to process your water and transfer the rubbish water into bladder, and then that's why you get up to go to toilet to have a pee. That means even your mind rests, but your body hasn't rested. Your body is still working on you. But in this case, the whole night you lose the water. So that's why we strongly suggest that because you relax, you lose water. When you wake up, the first things, you make sure you drink 1 or 2 cups of warm water to help your body to get enough water, means your blood not too thick to formulate blockage, and then that is quite important. Before 10 o'clock, you can drink plenty of the water, which is helping yourself thinning your blood. So while that is one of the very important part. So, and then you start doing face to the sun, and then doing some exercise, either stretching, and then doing 站桩 or standing or slapping or qigong or tai chi or whatever, which is, so even jogging, if the weather is good enough, you can do the jogging to have the sun, fresh air to your body. So that is the sun rising part. So after exercise, and you make sure you take good breakfast, which is good quality of the food. Doesn't need too much, but have plenty of protein, which is why we already mentioned that in the previous podcast, because that's the large intestine or stomach meridians. They have plenty of qi, plenty of blood, and then they are equivalent in the west of the immune system. So in this case, they have very good digest ability. If you eat breakfast on the good quality, and then they can digest and then absorb much better. So that's the morning practice, which is already in line quite lots of people's like a morning exercise. But just why I need to emphasize that, because nowadays lots of people go to bed very late. So therefore, they didn't get up earlier, especially when the sun already rises, they get up, which is harm your body if you don't get up. It's because by the time the universal energy and like earth energy rising, if you don't rise, you suppress the energy inside your body. So it's like you're not go with the flow. which will be affected the next flow. So the impact for long term is bad. So that's why when we will see the modern young people life schedule, I find quite lots of young people, they are really kind of go to bed so late and then play the computer game during the night and then get up very late. And then for a short period of time, body can really work, compensate to work for you. But and then they get aging earlier and also have lots of immuno problem come out. And for example, that pandemic actually attacked is the immune system attacked the lung. And can you imagine if you have plenty of blood, plenty of energy and the qi, so your lung and your immune system good, you are standing on a much better position to protect you not to get ill. But if you don't do that, and then gradually your immune system has been suppressed. So that's why and then people become very vulnerable to the virus. So that's the morning part, which we call the sun rising part. So the noon, because I'm talking follow the cycles of the day, and the noon time in between 11 to 1 o'clock. If people already stay at home as quarantine, that's a perfect time. Please rest and sleep for 2 hours, doing lots of tummy breathing, and then rest, because this time is the meridians of the heart. So if you could get a good rest for your heart meridians, so you won't get we call the indeficient symptoms like I Ching, skin and heart palpitation, heart disease, and thirsty and hot flash. All of these symptoms can be easily avoided because if you take rest and then in that mid of the daytime, because we always said every pain or itching or have abscess in your body, those symptoms due to the heart problem. So that heart problem is not just about not as the Western people, Western medicine called the heart, is because we call it, the chest area, your heart, like the center of your chest, which is it's kind of like the energy center is rather than physical heart, because this energy center and then including the heart, and also they have the emotion set here. So if you practice and rest on the mid of day, you actually to stabilize your emotion. So you will cope the emotion stormy day or much better. So that's why so many people, if they never rest in this time, they find their mood swings so fast, so quick. So they couldn't cope with the emotion swap. So that is the lunchtime, also we call the middle of the day time. The third time we need to really take care is the sunset. In general, we were talking about the times in between 5 to 7, which is the sunset, or we're talking about the sun. The sunset, so that's why the human body starts get into the program and then to the mood to rest. So this kind of time should be put feet up and to take it easy and rest, and have evening light dinner, or even you can like meditate or take a gentle walk in the garden and take a rest. So because that's the time you're not supposed to be sweat and then get your body too excited, because that's why it's followed the earth's movement. When the sun set, you set. So you follow the flow with the Tao, with the sun and the moon. In the Qigong practice, this kind of time, we always suggest people doing some self-massage, like massage the kidney and the back and the feet, and then put feet up, like doing the leg stretch, and also kind of very quiet, short meditate. So if they can empty mind, relaxed, and then this time the function, they were strengthening the lung, because according the sun and the moon cycles, this life, this time reflect to the back of the lung on the human bodies. So if you can rest on this time, amazingly, your lung become much stronger. But if you find people very easy get, virus attacks or get cold and a running nose, and you may find the people on those time, and then they're very, very busy, either busy traveling and doing things and talk, maybe cooking, or maybe going to gym. So that if they're too active, that means you're against the young settling down. So that's why as you are boiling the water, which your body should preserve the body, but you already burn out for a whole day. So that's why you're heavily burning up the very little left inside your body. So that's why your body become very dry. So they are, if they're too dry, that's why they develop and then very thirsty, and then the lung get very dry, very easy get a dry cough, just like COVID-19. So the people get a dry cough. So I noticed that why there's quite lots of people have lung problem in the West when they were in England, and it's so many young people in the evening, this kind of time, they went out to drink. They drink alcohol. I mean, when they drink alcohol, can you imagine the alcohol is already hot? So they will drain the liquid of the body even much more faster. So that's why there's not surprised they destroyed the people's and the liquid and the fluid much faster. So, and then lung will set up part of the body need quite lots of water to steam for, like your breathe. When you will breathe, you may notice that when you close to a window, so you can see the steam. When you're breathing out, the steam come out to the glass. So that means your lung function properly, they need water. But if you drained the water inside your body, so that will definitely damage the lung, the function of the lung. So since the pandemic gets quite strong in the West, because China is almost stopped, so we are now in China going outside. Some people is already in everywhere it's almost back to normal. You can go to market, you can do things, but it has been very vigorously stop people to go outside. I feel that it's almost like the mother try to protect the children. So when they're dangerous, that no, stay at home, don't go out. But when they're outside, and all of the family and get better, so that's why the children can go outside to play. But now, if some of the country hasn't been protect their citizen enough to give them discipline to protect the virus, so that's why the virus spreading, and also plus people doesn't follow the full time for house, especially for the the later afternoon, the evening hasn't really to preserve their energy, their liquid, reducing the activities. So that's why the body had a long-term damage. So when their virus comes, that's very easy attacked. There's already very dry, very weak immune system. So I just want to emphasize that, because I know there are some other countries still face to serious challenge about the COVID-19. So that's why I will strongly suggest that if you are aware of the health, and you make sure you stay at home in between 5 to 7, which some of the continent have a different time zone, so that that is one principle you follow. When the sun rises, you just follow the sunrise, take a rest. So that's the third time. The fourth time, which we're talking 4 times, but number 4 is the middle of the night, which is also the time in between 11 to 1 o'clock. So I would suggest that if during the winter, especially on the Northern Europe, you're probably getting darker much earlier, like 4 o'clock or some of the time. So in this case, go to bed earlier, make kind of a bowl of the hot water as to soaking your feet. Why soaking your feet? So you make sure you get the blood going to the feet, because the bottom of the feet is the number 1 kidney point, which are along the kidney meridians, because middle of the night is linked with kidney energy. The kidney energy in the Chinese medicine, talking about your original essence of your body, because kidney energy is linked with your reproduction, your bone marrow, your energy, your basically your source of your energy. So in this case, in between the 11 to 1 o'clock, your we call the baby young, means your young energy start rising. That means because that cycles come that, so that's why they're meant to be giving birth. But if you don't nourish this part, so that's why they won't growing up properly. So that's why if you get routine, because that's the darkest night, and the most kind of and the yin is like the energy, and then the liquid going much deeper, but there's a creative energy just above the start. So in this case, you really need to have a good rest, because if you rest, you will protect the next cycle flow, because almost that is the time you plant the seeds for your new cycles. So that is the full time for a house, for the sun and the moon. If you have lots of time, you can practice much longer. But if you are really follow the sun and the moon, as the year cycles is like a summer solstice, winter solstice, spring, autumn, equator. So that is the same as the day. It's like middle of the night, middle of the day. Middle of the night equivalent as winter solstice. Middle of the day equivalent as a summer solstice, because that's the daytime is much hotter, and so it's the new cycles for yin growing. But the spring equinox and autumn equinox is equivalent as a sunrise, sunset. So that's why if you can grasping and religiously, I use the words religiously, it means routine. If you really keep your routine and for this 4 times a day and do the practice what I mentioned. I just gave a very short summary. Sunrise, you get up, drink plenty of water, doing some exercise, have a good quality breakfast. And the middle of the day, you make sure you're lying down, you had a rest, or you at least close your eyes and nourishing your heart and nourishing your liquid, and take us like a lunch nap in between that time. And then when the sun sets, you make sure you're not walk, not sweat. So you put your feet up, or you can massage your kidney, or doing meditate. You make sure you're stay quiet, or even you can just eat of the some of the dinner, and sit down eat. But you make sure you're not drink alcohol too much with the empty stomach on that time, because alcohol is the energy to push your yang going to the surface. Now it's winter, and I will suggest the winter you need to let your energy sit restored inside as deep as possible in your bone marrow and in your internal organs, in your spine. So that's very important on the sunset time. And the evening, you make sure you're not doing too much electricity, like like a game. Lots of people watching the film in the middle of the night, doing kind of get kind of a gameholic. I spend many time in the computer. So I will suggest very highly you close your eyes and let your mind quiet and go to sleep. Drink a little bit of water before you go to bed, because your body still process to clear up your brain rubbish, to clear up your blood pumping systems, rubbish. So that's why your body still process. So in this case, drink a little bit of water to make sure you are not in deficiency, because some people suffering insomnia, they cannot sleep well, partly because they haven't really got enough water to drink too much alcohol. They get too excited and then they feel very thirsty. I just want warning everybody, if you wake up and feel very thirsty and feel headache, you already had a little bit of damage to your brain. So you make sure you really drink plenty of water, or at least reducing your activities to pump your too much blood too hot during the time you should rest, which is the sunset or the middle of the night. So that's the 4 times house I would like to share with whoever listened to that podcast, to make sure now in the pandemic period time, if you stay at home, that's a brilliant time for you to practice that, because you got plenty of time, and so you're not you're not supposed to meet lots of people. So that's why calm down, practice that. If you can practice 1 hour, you're wonderful. If you practice 2 hours for each time, you're brilliant. If you can continue for 100 days, you will notice the difference. You will build up very new good habit. I just want to mention that in the ancient time, there are lots of outstanding Chinese medical doctor like Sun Simiao, Zhang Zhongjing. Zhang Zhongjing is the one who killed lots of pandemic patients. Sun Simiao also to do their spiritual cultivate, doing those full-time health, and then himself practice very, very carefully. And then, so that's why Chinese people named Sun Simiao. Sun Simiao is the doctor's name, as their immortal doctor Sun. That's what the ancient time people call him. So that's why he was very, very emphasized the virtual part. For doctor to treating patients, and also he had many books describe about the virtual principles, how doctor should face to the patient. And if anybody interested for that, that couple of doctors, who are they, what they're doing, and we can kind of talking about them the next podcast.